Welcome to the Luna Holistic Podcast. I'm your host, Geneva Robbins, and every month on this podcast, we'll talk about Reiki, as well as answering your questions on all things spiritual. We are gratefully located in Calgary in Treaty 7 territory. Thank you all and welcome to the show. Welcome to the Luna Holistic Podcast. My name's Geneva Robbins, and today I have Angela Hogovine with me. Say hi, Angela.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Good to see you. Good to have you here. This episode, we're talking about Reiki for the inner child. And that's something that's pretty popular within therapy, is to do some work around, loving the inner child and creating a connection with your child self who may or may not have gotten all the care or nurturing that you needed, and how Reiki can help with that work because it works on this beyond time and space plane. So, we're going to be chatting about that. Before we hop in, let's do our collective breath of gratitude, our little mini meditation. If you happen to be driving, keep your eyes open. Otherwise, you can find a settled seat and gently close your eyes and just take a few big sighs of relief, allowing all of your energy to arrive in the place that you're sitting. And just sending a wave of gratitude down through your legs, through your feet, connecting to the earth, and watching that wave and ripple of gratitude spread out in all directions. Sending gratitude to the trees and the earth, the sky and the wind, the moon, the sun, and the stars, to all of the life that surrounds you, the birds and animals, everything that lives in water. Take another big exhale, sighing it all out. Sending out a wave of gratitude and receiving a wave of gratitude. Let's take another deep breath. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you're here with me today, Angela.
Thanks. Yeah, me too.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So, we've been using Reiki for inner child work for a while, but maybe we can start with just the Reiki bit and maybe a little bit of like what drew you to Reiki and kind of your path up to here. What pulled you into Reiki to begin with?
It's always a funny question for me because I'm not sure. I think it was, however you want to phrase it, the universe, my higher self, just something within me. I know I've shared previously on a podcast that it really was as simple as that, where it was just this thought that came in my head that, oh, I need a Reiki session and I need to start learning how to do Reiki without giving it really any thought. And it did feel like this big push. And I went to Luna for my first Reiki session with you, Geneva. And before I even had my session, I signed up for level 1. There was just something pulling me into Reiki. And I've been fully in it ever since.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're teaching Reiki now.
Well, I'm teaching Reiki. I really, really like it to teach others what you taught me, what Reiki has taught me. And it's lovely having students that are so interested and so open to the whole process of it.
Mhm. Yeah. And there's been lots of Reiki healing along the way. Like, I guess, how has Reiki supported you or your practice or receiving sessions?
Oh gosh. that's that's a big answer. Reiki has been everything. Where I know I've shared before that I was speaking with another practitioner, Luna, I think maybe just after my first session. Anyway, she said that Reiki would change my life. And I thought, "Oh, okay." And now, it's been seven years later, and Reiki has completely changed my life in regards to just physically having a Reiki session. Reiki has helped me look at things differently, look at the world differently, look at how I'm processing my feelings. Because Reiki isn't just the actual Reiki session with the hands on and the energy. Reiki is so much more. And it has helped me with my limiting beliefs in every little way. Reiki has changed me, has helped me, has improved me. I am a completely different person than I was before Reiki.
That's incredible. Yeah, we often think of it as like only for like physical health healing, which is also profound. I've definitely had some big experiences with Reiki helping with pain and healing chronic conditions and all kinds of things like that. The mental health boost and the spiritual connection that happens with Reiki, healing trauma and clearing all kinds of energy that is sort of stuck and lodged in the past seems to be like one of the things that was like people are often surprised of like, oh, Reiki can help with that. It's like, yes, it is. And it's such a nice, sweet support, especially if you're already doing therapy, which is wonderful. Like, Reiki doesn't replace therapy, and a really good qualified therapist and somebody who can help you unpack the density of your story, that really means like a really great therapist, especially if there are things that have been stuck or hidden or things you weren't be able to talk about growing up, where you really need to like have qualified space to sort of unpack all of those stories and to sort of examine and give you skills and tools for reframing your thinking and looking at things from a different angle and sort of tilting your view or reframing thoughts. That's excellent with that. And then with trauma therapy, like some EMDR and I think it's ERT, so different trauma therapies are also really, really fantastic. We highly recommend them that you go, connect with a really good therapist for that. And what I find as a great partner for those kinds of therapies is Reiki, because what I sort of get when I work with people who are kind of working through their big stuff, the density of maybe life, like life has thrown some stuff at you and now you have this stuff to get rid of, or manage. And I find it's really, really good for clearing out the residual energy that's lingering in your body. So sometimes with therapy, you sort of clear it out of your mind and your emotions, but there can be sort of this lingering energy or triggers in the body, like the body and your energy still doesn't quite feel safe. So Reiki is really good. It's almost like you clear it in therapy, and then with Reiki, we sort of help take out the trash. It's like sort of helps the person also with like coming out of that dissociated state and regrounding their spiritual energy within their body. So you start feeling at home within your body instead of just feeling like your head walking around disconnected. So those things are really great in partnership with therapy, and inner child work is also our topic for today, and also works really great with Reiki as well. And I feel like one of the reasons that it works so well with Reiki is because Reiki is beyond time and space. So part of how Reiki works is we are connecting to this consciousness that is universal, it's unlimited. The way it's described and the way it functions is very, very similar to sort of emerging understanding of sort of our quantum mechanical world, that when you go past the level of the atom deep into the subatomic space, matter sort of disappears and it's all just waves of energy. And also at different scales, time doesn't factor into these equations. And with Reiki, time doesn't factor into the equation. And that universal energy isn't time bound, which means that you're free to work on any age where anything may have happened to you, that things may have gotten stuck in your past. And it can be, we say inner child, but I kind of think of like any, you do work on yourself when you're in your 20s or in your teens. You could do work on, your younger self or your baby self, or, you know, even your infant or in utero self. And we can even go further back and do past life work, but that's a whole other podcast. So, and I think we have another podcast. Let's link to that podcast, shall we? We'll put that in the show notes. We've got a couple of past life healings. We can do past life work with Reiki as well. But with the inner child work, it's been some of the most interesting work for me, bringing energy into different points where there's been things that have gotten stuck, or even just ages where sort of illness onset. I was diagnosed with asthma when I was 8. I probably had it my whole life, even as a tiny little baby. And so I've done a lot of work in the past, going back to those past moments where I had really big asthma attacks, or sort of there's a lot of moments that sort of stick in your brain. And so going back to those ages where the symptoms were really bad, and that I think has really helped decrease my symptoms over time. So that's sort of one way that I've been using this Reiki for the inner child. But for you, Angela, how has that been working in your work, either self-healing or helping other people with their sessions?
Hmm. The whole concept of Reiki being beyond time and space is so trippy. It's still sometimes hard for me to grasp. I believe it, but it's just when you really think about it, I have no other word other than trippy. Well, even when I had my first distance session with you, when I was taking the classes, even that, I thought, this is crazy. How is this going to work? Where you're one place and I'm a different place. And shockingly, at the time, that was one of my biggest sessions that I had. And then going back to doing Reiki on myself in the past, well, one thing I'll share is that not too long ago, I was having a Reiki session with you, Geneva, and you did bring up doing Reiki on me in utero, which again, another like just my mind was blown. How is that possible? But what I had shared with you is that I'm adopted, and I know when my birth mother was pregnant, she experienced just a lot of shame. I've met her. I met her when I was about 30. So, she has told me herself what had happened when she was pregnant with me, but she had to hide from her family. It was a bad situation. And as I say, she was dealing with just so much shame. And so it was like I was in this little soup of shame. So I have done my own self healing in regards to that. I've done it a few times and it's wild. I think it works. Part of me know it works, but I think it works because of how I felt afterwards, and it's really hard to put into words the feeling because then I do question it. I'm like, "Oh, is this like a placebo where I'm feeling better because I think I'm going to feel better, or is it really because my in utero self has absorbed this Reiki? But again, it's so trippy for me that that is something that can and does work. And I have done bits of self healing on little me. I don't know, I haven't really done Reiki on me from, say, like 20 onwards, like past, which is something that I should explore. But I did share with you that even though I was doing Reiki on me, there was a feeling after a few minutes that I didn't want more Reiki on myself. Again, it's hard to even
Mhm.
explain that because it's me doing Reiki on me, but it's me from, you know, years and years ago.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes I get that what's interesting is, like, that's the same response I get when I do Reiki on, like, little people and pets. They kind of like, when they get enough Reiki, they're like, "Okay, I'm good," and they back away. So I'm kind of wondering if it's like that's maybe where you're at with your healing there as well, is like, okay, that age has absorbed all the Reiki it needs, and now move on to a different age or a different time. It's always interesting to kind of play around with that with your self healing. And for anybody who knows Reiki and maybe doesn't know that you can do Reiki on yourself in the past, this is a little like Reiki master class moment. So how you would do that, and this is something that you do if you've got the Reiki training, is you prepare the same way that you would for a distance session, but you're setting your intention and your session outcome. You're intending to send Reiki to you in the past. So, what I do is I'll choose an age where I feel like I could send some energy to. In my mind, I will ask that past version of me if they would like some Reiki. And then I do the intake as though it's them. So I say, okay, well, how would you like to feel? What energy would you like to connect to? It's like I'm talking to my younger self. And then I will send Reiki to that past me. And usually I do it as so that my hands are facing outward. I'm sort of imagining I'm placing my hands on the me, and that's how I do distance Reiki. for for other people is I just imagine I'm placing my hands on the body. So then I do the regular Reiki session, and at the end, I like to add a little integrating step where you just like hug yourself. So you kind of melt that past self into you, and you kind of like really just hug yourself and maybe do a little bit of integration and grounding with the regular self-healing, as though, you're doing a session on yourself where you're touching the body, or however you practice, just really making sure that you're nice and grounded and that your aura is clear, and that really helps sort of settle things in. And then maybe doing some journaling or free writing afterwards of the experience, because sometimes things pop up when you're journaling. that because it is deep and trippy, like I totally agree with you, Angela. It's like the odds of having really surreal things happen in these sessions are very high, especially for self healing because you're doing Reiki on yourself, but in a different part of your time. So you get into a little bit of a interesting headspace. When I've done this in the past, I was doing Reiki on my 20-year-old self, and that was to help heal asthma symptoms. It was an age where the asthma was very, very bad. It was getting more and more severe, and it was becoming a major disruption in my life. And I didn't know if it was going to get any better at that stage. So this was like a number of years ago that I did this session. And so I was doing Reiki on my 20-year-old self, and I just placed my hands on my back, as though I'm what the 20-year-old me is sitting in front of me, and I put my hands on my back, and then I felt hands on my back. And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. I'm facing my hands out from my body, and yet I'm feeling hands placed so I could place my hands flat on my own back." Very bizarre, very difficult to describe, but I felt better. I felt better in that moment. And you're really using your imagination. You're really leaning into your imagination to do these sessions. And so, what has happened, the ripple effect for me is that after a number of Reiki sessions and some fairly big, sessions in the upper levels of Reiki, we do an advanced healing technique called psychic surgery. And then in master level, we train you to do a healing attunement. And so I've received many of those, plus the healing Reiki for the inner child. I feel like that has been the biggest thing that's improved my symptoms. And ultimately, I was able to get off the medication completely. I haven't used an inhaler for over 16, 17 years now. And it's great. And I can be around cats and dogs. And that's really, really great because I love animals. And yeah, so I feel like this kind of work can kind of loosen up things that are stuck in our past. Even just that conversation or that going in your imagination to that younger self and providing comfort and care and love and unconditional support, especially like healing through shame is like when you actually go back and look at, pictures of you, like 2 or 3, or imagining you as a 2 or 3-year-old is like, oh, you're so sweet and so cute, right? Just like we think of any other child, and but you may not have been feeling that or being surrounded by that. So it's nice to send energy to all of those sort of stages. And I always think we know ourselves the best. We know what we missed in our childhood and what we needed. And this could even be, like for me, I had a pretty good childhood. I have a really great family. And still, there's just little bits where you just needed different kinds of support than were available. And now, as a parent myself, I look back and go, is like, dang, you just get busy, right? And you're trying to manage and meet everybody's needs, and you can't always because you're just dealing with life, and life is full and busy and stressful. And so there's always going to be those gaps in care, gaps in support. And then also, if there's like a more trauma and things like that, this is a process that's really, really nice and nurturing. Fantastic and weird and trippy as a self healing, but also really, really great to go in and get some care. So if you are working, I'd say to anybody, like if you are working through some inner child stuff or working to heal things that are stuck in your childhood where you know that you really needed, unconditional love and you weren't given unconditional love. And you want to now go and heal that part of you that, especially like sometimes people often will describe this feeling of something being missing, like they're just sort of missing a piece of life or they missed out on some form of care. I find this work we just go directly to that moment and we send energy and light into the child self. Sometimes that just happens spontaneously when I do Reiki. Like when I do Reiki on the adult person in front of me, and we're not really focused on the inner child stuff, but it's all interconnected. And we're just doing a regular Reiki session. And sometimes in the visuals, I'll see that person's child self, like their small version, their little them just pop up and start, receiving Reiki, or I'll see them maybe going from a dark, scary place where they're alone and isolated to like running and skipping and playing and being carefree. And so those images just sort of pop up spontaneously often when I do Reiki for others. But have you had those kinds of experiences as well? Like when you do Reiki on other people that, sometimes it flows back to their inner child?
So interesting how when you're doing your own inner child work, when you're doing Reiki on little you, that you ask little you what they need. I actually hadn't even thought of doing that because I am at my current age feeling like when I was little, these are the things that I needed. And I'm sure they're probably close to the same. If I was to ask little me, I'm assuming that she would say, these are the things I need, but still interesting doing it that way. I think I'm going to try that next time and see if something different comes up. But yeah, like you were saying, for when I'm doing self healing on current me, it's often a lot of clearing of energy. But anytime that I've done Reiki on little me, yes, it's usually, like you said, it's usually filling myself or feeling, it's hard to even know saying myself, little me. It's again trippy. But yeah, filling myself with the energy that I was missing. Like you said, parents busy. My adoptive parents were immigrants, had their own business, had a couple kids, and were busy and just trying to survive. And me being a very sensitive person adopted by a family who are just not sensitive. That doesn't make them bad or mean or whatever, but they're very different to me. So there was a lot of things emotionally that I didn't get when I was little that I feel, well, it was just something that I needed, that my brother and sister, who are my parents' biological kids, I just don't think really needed because they're just not as sensitive as I am. So when I, as I say, doing that inner child work and the Reiki on little me, it is more just filling with comfort and safety. A lot of you're safe, I'm safe. Very different to me doing Reiki on my current self.
Amazing. Yeah. I love it. I find it's very, very comforting, these sessions. And it's a really nice way of sometimes when we do inner child work, it's like to uncover all the pain and all of the heavy stuff and sort of unpacking that. And what I like is that it's like it's all about bringing in comfort and love and sweetness and even just space to play and be innocent and carefree the way maybe we wished we would have had space for when we were children. And it brings in the energy in a new way and a new direction. And I always think it's almost like healing from the inside out. So you go back to the core and bring comfort and love and compassion to that little vulnerable space. And what happens is that it ends up being this sort of filling, like you had said. And it just feels very cozy. It's very, very gentle. It's like super nurturing and loving and, kind of like cozy parenting, it feels like very motherly and warm, like this, pure nurturing energy just flowing in from the universe to support. And it's just like when I do sessions on other people, where that's the focus is to kind of, heal the childhood stuff. It just feels like being plugged into like the coziest, warmest hug from the universe. And it's just sort of flows into the person in this very like powerful yet gentle way. They end up being like very big, very big and very nice sessions. People get a lot from them. And what's nice is that because Reiki is beyond time and space, within a couple of sessions, that energy stays with the person. So it keeps on flowing far longer than the end of the session. So I always feel like we connect people up to this universal flow of light, and then it carries on like they're plugged in, and then they just keep on getting filled up as they travel. So it's yeah, it's really, really sweet and lovely.
And I had a session with you not too long ago, and I don't think I shared this with you, where it was an in-person session, and just having your hands touching me, that felt almost like a mother energy. And that felt so comforting. Just that alone, nothing to do with the actual energy work, but even just that is um, really important. And like you said earlier, even hugging yourself. That when I was doing Reiki on myself in utero, I did hug myself, but it wasn't even a planned thing. It was an instinctive thing to hug myself. And I also was sighing a lot during that session. I don't normally sigh when I'm doing Reiki, but I found very interesting again was this my current body, yeah, reacting to the Reiki that is given to myself again in utero. Like it's just so wild. And another thing I wanted to add is years ago when I was in therapy doing inner child work or talking to my therapist about, how that works and what that looks like is she said that what I should do, I didn't because it was a bit too much for me, but she said that maybe I should decorate a bedroom in my house as the bedroom I would have wanted when I was little. So that I would be decorating a room for, yeah, like a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old. That felt just a bit too much for me. So she said, okay, then what you might want to consider is buying some stuffed animals. I know I rolled my eyes. I know I did. And I'm like, oh God, this is a little nuts. But I trusted her and I went and found the softest, cutest stuffed animals. And I forced myself to sleep with them, even though I'm alone in my bed and I am still rolling my eyes like, this is ridiculous that I'm a grown woman. I'm sleeping with stuffed animals. But she was so smart because, oh my gosh, it really helps. And I think, again, it may be current me, it didn't help, but little me somehow got comfort in current me holding that stuffed animal. And again, it's so trippy how this all works, but I will use my stuffed animals and then I just put them away because it's just too much for me. Every once in a while, I'm like, okay, I should pull those suckers out again. And so recently I pulled one out and I've been trying to sleep with it. And I am still so surprised at how much comfort I get sleeping with this animal. And I get a little embarrassed because I'm a grown adult. But then little me and current me is like, no, this feels nice.
And cozy.
Cozy.
And, like, even just, like, having a baby blanket or a soft, cozy blanket and, like, swaddling yourself, like, I think that's probably why we like weighted blankets so much, right? It's like and then even just, like, you mentioning the sighing, like, that's a sign of your nervous system relaxing and regulating, right? And I think if we are born into stressful circumstances where, in the uterus, we're swimming in, whatever stress our biological mother was experiencing, you're experiencing all of those same emotions too. And that's just because life is stressful, right? But then your earliest memories of being in a physical body are stressful. And the same thing with birth trauma. Like, if people know if they have birth trauma, sometimes that can just, still stick and linger. And just bringing in that comfort, it kind of bridges a gap in our care. And what's fascinating to me is that, like, with Reiki, with this beyond time and space sort of healing, we can go back and we basically are going back in our imagination and just visualizing energy going to past version of you, right? And sometimes people will also, like, if you have baby pictures or pictures of you at a younger age, you could also send Reiki to that picture or just visualize that person. Or if you're not a strong visualizer, sometimes that's useful, is to send energy to a picture of you. You'd only want a picture of just you, not the whole family. But but yeah, so it's amazing, and I find it's, like, warm and cozy and nurturing when we do this kind of work. So yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you, Angela, for being here and sharing your experience. Is so cool. If you are listening and you are interested in trying out Reiki for helping to provide some comfort and love for your inner child. We do Reiki here at Luna Holistic as it happens. And we've got our lovely space in Calgary. If you are not in Calgary, you can still receive care. We do virtual sessions as well. So we just get online and we just do a little chat and do Reiki by distance. And again, it's trippy and weird, but it works. So you can always give it a try. And if it's not for you, we always do 100% refunds. If you're like, I didn't like that at all, it did nothing for me. That's okay. We stand by it because we know it works. So yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much, Angela, for joining today. And thank you, everybody. We'll catch you next time. Bye bye. Thank you for joining us on the Luna Holistic podcast. We're so grateful that you are here. If you've got a question, we'd love to hear from you. Go to lunaholistic.com/podcast and we'll answer you in an upcoming episode. Be sure to subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And also please rate, because you never know where your little 5 stars will go to shine light into somebody's heart today. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.